Hey everyone. So everyone seemed to like my last dog recipe. I'm going to keep showing you what I make my dog. Now I have a little left from the last time, and if you didn't watch my video I'll put it in the description. This was one of the meals I made last time. I just have about one meal left. So when I get down to about one meal, I'm going to start another meal, and then I'll make enough for a few days. Sometimes I make enough for a couple days, sometimes I make enough for a week. So today I went to the store and I got a lot of stuff really cheap. Here we have chicken gizzards and hearts. As you can see, just $1.08 for a good amount. And then I like to buy stuff when it's on sale. You know how near the end of the dates they'll put stuff on sale? Well, why not buy it when it's on sale for your dog? So this stuff is gonna, be no longer sold soon, so they mark it down. So I got some chicken breasts. Here we have some pork, center cut pork chops. Here we have some braising steak. Chuck eye, beef chuck eye steak. And then we have some chuck pot roast, a lot. And then here's some, I think these are livers, they might be hearts. Chicken livers or hearts. So I'm going to use most of this and mix it up, but I don't think I need all these types of steaks. So I'm going to save one of these for later. I think I'll go ahead and save this chuck eye for later. So I'm just going to throw that in my freezer. Now these meats, since they are like not the freshest, I like to cook them. If you're going to feed raw, which I do a lot too, it's just fine. I like to either freeze it first or get a little bit fresher stuff. But since we're cooking it, this is all fine. So we have a lot of different types of meat here. We're going to be making him a lot of food for probably about a week time, and I'm not even going to use all of this. It's going to be just too much, so I'm going to save some of this meat as well. We're going to add some rice in, we're going to add some red and black beans in, we're going to add some eggs in, some carrots, some mushrooms, some celery, and some sweet potato. Now mushrooms and celery should be cut up, well, mushrooms don't have to be cut up finely, but celery should be cut up very small. You shouldn't feed it very often, but it's fine from time to time. Sweet potatoes should be cooked, great for dogs, and everything else they're great for dogs. So let me go ahead and just get this prepped, because obviously this is going to take me a little bit of time to get this all prepped, and we don't want to sit here and watch that on camera. So let me go ahead and get it all ready to get in the pan and start cooking, and then we'll show you guys the next steps and get it going. Okay, so we're getting there. Here's all the vegetables and the beans. And then what I've done with the meat here is we have about half of all the meat. So there were 4 chicken breasts. I got 2 here and 2 in this bag. There was that big chuck roast. I got about half of it here, half in the bag. There were 4 little steaks. I've got 2 of them here, 2 in the bag. And then there were 3 pork roasts or pork chops, and I got 1.5 here, 1.5 in the bag. And then the giblets, about half here and half in the bag. So this is a lot. This is gonna, look at how much this is. I'm gonna save this, and this is gonna be for later. I'm just gonna freeze this because I'm not gonna need this for probably, I don't know, a good many days, maybe almost a week, because I feed other things other than just this stuff too. He gets treats and raw stuff as well. So I'm just going to throw this in the freezer. And then we got the livers over here. They're just kind of messy, so I left them in the bag. So as you can see, tons of meat. I still have to cut this stuff up into smaller pieces, and then we'll continue. Okay, so we have our meat all cut up now, and I've got a pan full of vegetables. I'm going to add some water into this pan. We're going to need that for cooking down everything, cooking the sweet potato and everything. It's going to kind of be a stew at first, but it's going to thicken up later when we put the rice in and everything. So all this meat, I just have to get it in here. So since this is kind of like a stew, we're just throwing it all in together. And this is a lot, as you can tell. The eggs and the rice are going to go in at the end. First, we have to get the meat cooked up, and I just want to mix it around so that all the veggies aren't just sitting on the bottom. So got a nice mix there. I'm going to put this on my highest burner. Let me wash my hands off, and then we'll come back and start getting it cooked. Alright, so I'm just going to turn this on to a medium heat, and this is going to take a while to cook because this is kind of like a big stew with lots of liquid and everything in it. So I need to let this just heat up and let it simmer now until I decide that it's fully cooked. It could take 45 minutes even. I'm going to cover it and let that start going, and we'll come back and look at the last steps once the meat is cooked enough for the next step. Not quite ready for the rice yet, but I just wanted to show it. Look how good this looks. I almost want to eat this except for the gizzards in there I'm not sure about, but looks like an amazing stew. Good to eat. Now, everything's starting to get soft. This is starting to get soft and breakable, but it's not soft. Ooh, it's hot. Not quite soft enough yet, so we're going to let this simmer a little bit more. Then we'll throw in the rice, and the eggs will be last. So just a little bit more simmering to make sure that those potatoes and carrots get soft. Okay, so the rice is going to take about 20 minutes, and I think I probably got about 20 minutes left just to make sure that all the beans and everything are soft and everything cooked through. So we're going to go ahead and throw in some rice here, and what the rice is going to do mainly is fill up the gaps. Instead of having a stew, it's going to turn it more into a solid piece of, you know, food that we can feed easily. So we're just going to estimate rice. I never really measure. I just throw in it. That was probably about a cup tops. It wasn't all that much. I might actually throw in a little more because this is actually a pretty darn big pot. Let me throw in a little more rice. And this is going to be mini meals. This will probably be, geez, I don't know. It looks like this could feed like 10 humans. So I mean, it's probably like 7 to 15 meals. I'm not sure exactly how much. So we got some rice in there, and it's just going to the bottom. It's disappearing. But I know it's in there, so I don't need to add too much more. That should be good. And now we're going to let this simmer for 20 minutes to get that rice cooked. And the rice says to simmer covered, but that's just the rice's recipe for normal rice. I'm going to simmer this uncovered because I want as much of this liquid to get absorbed, but also kind of evaporate, because I want this to turn into more of a, like, instead of a soup, more of a solid meal. So we'll go ahead and let this simmer with the top off for the 20 minutes and then come back and check on it. Okay, now check this out. We got our rice in there, and now instead of like a soup, we have a nice thicker meal here. So we got a lot of rice in there, but every piece is going to have tons of meat and beans and everything else. So the last ingredient we want to add is our eggs, and we got 4 of them here to add in. And we're going to add the shell and everything. So I'm going to get my hands a little dirty here. I'll just wash them after. We're just going to break it and break up the shell. Alright, so now we got our shells and egg in there. I'm going to make a little mess. We're just going to stir the eggs in. They're not going to cook, they're not going to take very long at all to cook. We just want to get them stirred in, and they're also going to help kind of thicken up the mixture. And they're going to almost instantly cook because this is hot. So we're basically done. We're just going to stir it up. And then I'm going to put this on a low heat. I'm going to turn my burner like almost down to the lowest, and I'm just going to let this stay cooking for another like 5 minutes, not very long, and then we're just going to turn off the heat and let it continue cook and cool. You know, it's going to take a little while to cool before we can feed it and bag it up. So basically done here. Just give it a little bit more time and we'll come back and finish it and feed some to my dog. This is smelling great. Now I'm going to say this is done cooking now, but it's still going to be really hot for a good long time because it's such a big pot. So I'm just going to go ahead and turn my heat off, and I'm going to go ahead and cover it because I think we got a good consistency now. And I'm just going to let it sit until it kind of gets to a little bit cooler because it's way too hot to do anything with right now. So we'll be back in about a half hour. I've had this sitting for about a half an hour, and I just took the top off and it's still steaming, as you can see. It stays hot for a long time because it's a big pot. But what I'm going to do here is just take a little bit that I'm going to feed to my dog today. And then I've got a couple bags, and what I'm going to do is I'm going to freeze some of this, and then the rest of it I'm going to put in the fridge to feed for the next few days. And then once I run out of what's in the fridge, I'll take some out of the freezer, the bag, and then I'll have another few days worth of food. So I'm going to go ahead and get that done once this cools just a little bit more, and then we'll feed some to my dog. And this is what we ended up with, just so you guys can see how much we got. Pretty much the pan's mostly empty. Spilled a little bit through there. Maybe I can get that out of there quick so it doesn't dirty up my stove too much. But as you can see right in front of me, we have 2 huge freezer bags here full of dog food now. So what I'm going to do, like I said, is freeze one and put one in the fridge. And now I'll have food for my dog for a good long time. This is actually probably enough food for, geez, I mean, like, look at this bag, how much is in here. This is probably like 1 meal, 2 meals, 3 meals, 4 meals, 5 meals, 6, probably like almost 10 meals in this bag. And there's probably like, this bag's got a little less, but almost as much. There's probably like 7 to 10 meals in that bag as well. So we have enough food here for like over a week for my dog. It took very short amount of time to make and very healthy, very awesome. So let's go ahead and see how my dog likes it. Here we have Jack waiting for his food. Now I put a little bit of water in there, and also if you watched my last video, the rice I like to put in there for the reason that, for one, it's healthy for them, and for two, it makes him eat slower because he's a really quick eater. So a little bit of water in his food and a little bit of rice, and it turns it into like a paste kind of, or like a pate rather than just easy chunks to eat. So we'll see how he likes this. I know he will love it. Tons of great stuff in there. So, okay. And he loves his food. We'll just record him eating this for a little bit. Now, there's tons of different recipes you can make. I plan to keep making recipes whenever I make food for my dog. Show you guys stuff. You can use more, or, well, not really more. There's plenty of rice in there, and as you saw, I didn't even add that much. And this is like, I got like 10, 15, 20 meals worth out of that. But you can add less rice. You can add more different meats. You know, it doesn't have to be the same every time. I feed him different stuff almost every time I feed him. So I really like the rice though, and a little water in there. As you can see, if you know my dog and you know his past videos, he will just swallow down chunks of meat. In fact, I got videos called like fastest eating dog in the world, and you could check those out. He eats really quick, so this is nice. It's what I found works best for him. If you got a dog that eats slower, you don't have to add in as much rice. But again, the rice is good, and I like to use it because instead of a soupy thing at the end, you get a nice, you know, a nice thing of food that's easy packable. It'd be harder to pack that if it was like a soup. Whereas like this, it was real easy to throw into plastic bags and get it saved for feeding him for the next week or so. You like that, buddy? It's good. You're eating pretty slow. You're still going quick, but you're eating pretty slow. So that's Jack. That's the dog food. And that's recipe number 2. I'll keep making them as I said. Any questions, comments, concerns, whatever, leave them in the comments section below. And we'll see y'all later. Jack, say bye-bye. He's like, nope, I'm just gonna keep eating.